But the reality is that he is an individual on social media who's proclaimed his allegiance to Antifa, that believes very strongly in using aggressive behavior and violent behavior to go against a government that he doesn't support. And he's also somebody that has stated very strong beliefs against conservatives, about those in the pro-life movement, and definitely against the church. And there's very little doubt in my mind that the placement of that device was intentional at our office, and particularly knowing the positions that I take and the issues that I'm directly involved with, was trying to send a message to dissuade us from being involved in those issues that matter to the people of Alabama, and I think correctly positioned ourselves on behalf of the people of the nation.
Jackson here for Yellowhammer Now, and that news report you just saw tells us a little bit about a guy who tried to blow up the Attorney General's office and kill people. Why? Well, because they were conservative. It was political violence. The Attorney General of the state of Alabama, Steve Marshall, is on the record there laying all of this out to the Newsmax folks. But now we have a plea in that case. And listen to how they cover this story.
WSFA 12 News also with a breaking news update for you this afternoon. Kyle Calvert, the man accused of detonating a bomb outside the Alabama Attorney General's office, has changed his plea. We're told he will now plead guilty. Court filings confirming those changes. Up until this point, he had pleaded not guilty to charges that stemmed from that incident, which happened in downtown Montgomery back in February. No one was hurt in the explosion, and in fact, little damage was done to the building. A sentencing date has not yet been set. Calvert faces anywhere from 5 to 20 years in federal prison.
They got the bare bones parts of this right, but it's kind of interesting because they left out some of the more salacious stuff. And why would you leave out salacious parts of a news story? I mean, don't you think it's important that this guy was transgender? I think that that's an important part of this story because it's one of the reasons why he's mad at Steve Marshall. Don't you think it's somewhat important that the guy is part of Antifa, an organization that has said, okay, violence is okay to stop people who we think are fascist? Of course, they think everyone is a fascist, so it's easy for them to commit violence against anyone they want. Don't you think it's rather interesting that because the individual who is doing the crime is part of some groups that the media, I think, finds some affinity with, that they don't really go into who those groups are? I have a feeling if we were talking about a different situation like January 6th, we would know if this individual had posted about tea parties or anything else online. But because it's Antifa, because there's a transgender involved, the media has this idea that they're going to soft pedal those connections. You're not going to see this on MSNBC and CNN. Hell, you probably won't even see it on Fox News because the story is this is political violence from the left, and that just for some reason does not break through in the political climate. And January 6th aside, almost all political violence seems to come from the left. I'm not saying it doesn't exist on the right. It's wrong there as well. But there is an attempt here to hide the connections like this is just some crazy person trying to blow up the Attorney General's office. And it is. But it's also a crazy person trying to blow up the Attorney General's office because of politics. It's political terrorism, and they're not talking about it. Why?